Salam and welcome to SomaliDispatch.com's news channel. For all Somali-related news and interviews, please visit us at SomaliDispatch.com. I'm Abdulqadir Guled. Mohamed Dable is a Somali political analyst who focuses on East African issues. He joins us from his home in UK to discuss this week's news headlines from East Africa. Salam, Mohamed. Welcome to Somali Dispatch.
Wa alaikum salam, Abdul Qadir. Thank you for having me.
Mohamed, if you can start us off by giving us your thoughts on President William Ruto of Kenya's appointment of an ambassador to Hargeisa.
Well, it is more symbolic rather than a substance. As we know, and Somaliland is a de facto state. It hasn't got international recognition, but states do deal with the authorities in Somaliland through, to some levels, bilateral levels, in exchange of, trade and businesses, and most states do unofficially. But this move that has, President Ruto has taken is going to embolden the Somaliland authorities to push for more recognition from other states in the region and far afield. However, the significance of this is not, in my view, it's not going to be received with a real substance. Like, if Kenya has been friendly with Somaliland, has been dealing with Somaliland in at the capacity of a de facto state. There has been unofficially, representations of Somaliland in Kenya. Still, things will be like that. The interesting thing is how Mogadishu is going to react to this. Currently, the two countries or the two governments have got a very good relationship, and there is collaboration between the two in many fronts, including the East African community membership that Somalia is seeking at the moment, and also the security cooperation between the two states. I don't know how this is going to impact, and also if this is going to kind of like spark nationalist versus liberalist in debate in Somalia.
Correct. Kenya perhaps is not the first country to do this. Turkey, the Emirates, Taiwan, Ethiopia, all have some sort of offices, diplomatic offices in Hargeisa. And as we know, Somalia and Kenya had a diplomatic row for a while, and then with the President Ruto's election and with President Hassan as well in Mogadishu, a kind of reconciled. This could actually set things back. But if we could move further into other issues that are Kenya-Somali related, there has been several known renditions of people living in Kenya, be they Somali. There's a dispute on one of them not being a Somali and being a Kenyan. Those people accused of being associates of Al-Shabab or linked to Al-Shabab have been renditioned to Somalia. What are the sentiments around this, and how do you see this playing out?
Well, there's two profile cases where two individuals, one of them is Zakaria Kamal,
yes,
and who has been accused of facilitating or providing logistic support to the Al-Shabab group that's active in Somalia. He has been accused of sourcing military, equipment and arms from China and shipping them to Somalia. So, according to the Kenyan authorities, through NISA, he has been accused of being, supporting Al-Shabab in terms of the delivery of weaponry. There was a case, he was arrested in September, but before that, prior to that, he was arrested, and the claim was that he had shipped 3 consignments or 3 containers from China to Somalia. One was one was stopped, one was found, but the other 2 are nowhere to be seen. So no one knows whether that has been, has gone into Shabab's hands. So that is a serious allegation. And the way he was found in Somalia is disputed. The Kenyan authorities are saying that he has breached his bail condition, which was to be, he was on a bail of 1 million bond, on a bond of 1 million Kenyan shilling. But then he disappeared, and the Somali NISA intelligence service is claiming that he was apprehended as he was trying to, enter Somalia and hide in the territories that are controlled by Al-Shabab.
Right, Zakaria Kamal Zaki, his family is claiming that he's not a Somali citizen, as NISA claimed, but he's a Kenyan citizen, and they are asking for the Kenyan government to intervene. Is that the case?
I am not really sure. That's what the family is claiming, but I don't know what the Kenyan authorities have said about it. But the Somali, authorities are saying that he's a Somali. But either case, it looks like there was collaboration between Somalian intelligence and Kenyan intelligence regarding Zakaria's abduction.
The other individual is Sufyan Takeye. As many Somalis have come to know him in social media, defending Al-Shabab tactics and warfare in Somalia and in Kenya. He was also brought to Mogadishu by NISA from Kenya, and he's also is accused of defending Al-Shabab and being a sympathizer, and perhaps even supported the group in an indirect way. What are Kenyans saying, as you being a Somali Kenyan who lives in the UK now? What are people saying? What are your thoughts on his rendition?
Well, again, it is Takeye has been, or Sufyan Sheikh Ahmed, known as Takeye, has been very vocal when it comes to the political governance of Somalia. So he kind of was in the indications from his assertions were that he was supporting indirectly, or it could be implied that he was supporting, or he agreed with some of the principles and views of Al-Shabab, and he was quite critical. Although he claims that he leads an organization called Talakunol, which he claims that has 15,000 supporters. He kind of agrees with what Al-Shabab believes. His main points of argument is that Somalia should be governed by the Islamic Sharia, and that's what he tries, if he comes into power, what he will do. The same thing is what Al-Shabab are claiming. But again, the question is, the Somali people are Muslims. Yes, everyone would like to see Sharia applied in Somalia, but it's how and the means they want to come to the power. So through destruction and violence is not the way. I think through dialogue will be the way, and it's something for the entire Somali people to come together and have a convention over that, which way they want to go. Do we want to have a Sharia, not like in the view of minority that is extreme, or do we want a Sharia which is the middle ground, which is the view of the majority of the followers of the Islamic faith?
Thank you for that. Kenyan Minister of Defense, Barra Adam Duale, recently addressed AS or Al-Shabaab threats coming from Somalia, but he was most critical about people financing or to be accused of financing Al-Shabab acts that his government will target, whether they be in Kenya or in Somalia, which was new coming from a Kenyan government official, be it a minister of defense. This follows after Defense Secretary of the U.S. recently visited the region and signed agreements with Kenyan government in this regard. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, this is tied to the security of the two countries and the region. As we know, Kenya is one of the troops contributing countries that has its forces, the KDF, in the Somali soil. And again, it is going to be under the auspices of the African Union, or ATMIS, as it is currently the mission upgraded to. So it will be down to the collaboration between the Somali government and the Kenyan government on how to tackle Al-Shabab in terms of disabling them financially, because they fund their activities through the many illegal ways of generating and collecting revenues from where they control, or even in most places or towns where they kind of like bully and intimidate business people to pay tax, or what they call zakah, so that they can finance their activities and operations. It is down to the two governments bilaterally and also through internationally to suffocate Shabab's income generating activities or means, and the only way that can be done is pursuing those people through collaborating with the Somali government.
Correct. The minister also commented on when the KDF or Kenyan Defense Forces will be leaving in Somalia, or will be leaving Somalia, which generated more buzz than perhaps what the comment was worth. What is the buzz about? It's clear that, as he said, this is matter of defense and matter of collaborating between the two countries. But there are, as you know, Somali sentiments that speak to the fact that Kenya is actually invading Somalia, not just fighting Al-Shabab, and is an expansionist mentality, what the minister has said.
Well, those people who are the nationalist people will argue that Kenya is an occupier, Kenya is interfering with the territorial integrity of Somalia. But the thing is, Kenya and Somalia have got, they are neighbors, and they have got an issue to deal with, and mainly it is the security. So even if the ATMIS mission comes to an end, I can still see a way for Kenya and Somalia to work together in bolstering the security of the two countries.
Right, and Djibouti also vowed to do the same. There has been debates in social media, if we can move on from security to perhaps other subjects that were highly debated and talked about in social media. This has to do with Somalia's federal government's proposal of national ID laws. Is there a need for concern given the buzz on social media?
There are both. The ID card idea or concept is a good one, a great one, which can guarantee or support or strengthen the security of the country. And also, if a biometric based ID is kind of like introduced and implemented, it will make Somalia most robust in tackling corruption, in countering organized crimes, in dealing with terrorism and what have you. That said, then there is kind of like the conflation between national identity card and the nationality. This has been an area for concern, that the government is not seriously thought of the ramification of the nationality issue has or is going to have. For example, the identity card, like for example, the speaker of the the speaker of the national of the Senate, Upper House, Senator Abdi Hashi, his ID was shared in social media, and it says he was born in Babili, Ethiopia. So this actually is a very sensitive and not well thought out idea. It should have been a consultation should have been taken. A lot of thought should have been given to this prior to sharing it on either on the national media or on social media. The signal that this is sending to the world is that the Somalia is conceding the territory that it always claimed, the Ogaden territory that it's always claimed, or the West Somali territory, as other people call it. It's actually giving that away. If these documents are taken to a tribunal in the international, IC in Geneva, in Hague, for a contest on the ownership of this territory, and that document is used, Somalia has got no leg to stand with. It will have to, it's going to be very hard. So this needs to be reviewed. I could suggest that, for example, Abdi Hashi could be born in Babili, but the nationality should be Somali or Somalia. So I don't see why Babili, because Somali claims it and it owns it and it has the right to claim it, let other people contest. But for Somali to kind of give that indication, it's going to put it in a weaker position when it comes to fighting a legal international case.
It would be interesting to see if a Somali person born in the diaspora would get that card and it would say born in the UK or Canada or USA, which would be very interesting. Does this law exclude?
Well, let me for example, I think it's quite interesting. But for the Somali ethnicity, it is more of the only people in that part of the world. It's more of a homogeneous. Yes, there are other ethnicities living in Somalia. However, the language and the majority that live in Somalia are from one main ethnic group. So the idea of, because Somalia is, its territories has been splitted up by the former colonial powers, Somalia still claims that those territories belong to it. So that claim is a legitimate claim, and it has to fight for it. It should not concede. It should not compromise over that. A time will come when the world order will change, and if you are in a position of power, then you can, or Somalia can actually negotiate in a peaceful or even military to reclaim its territory that is at the moment in question. So it is a matter of buying time and waiting and seeing how things develop. So it is not, it's actually naive to look at your situation now and give in and say, okay, now I haven't got the power, I haven't got the diplomatic clout, but all I can do is just forget about those territories and concentrate on the Republic of Somalia.
Very well explained. Finally, back to Somalia and especially the northern part of Somalia, the SSC-Khaatumo leader, Abdulqadir Firdhiye, is currently visiting Mogadishu with a big fanfare. This is an unprecedented visit, and it stoked debate among Somalis in general, specifically maybe even MPs. and citizens. What is your take on his visit and how it's received and what it possibly means for that part of the country?
Well, as there has been developments in Somalia lately, particularly, I call it post-Goja Ade, things have changed, and they have been taking a huge momentum towards the unionist side of the debate. The separatists have lost that territory, and it is like, although Somaliland itself is a de facto state, Goja Ade and Las Anod has been also a de facto inside a de facto state, because although when the presence of the Somaliland authorities and forces in Las Anod, during the presence of that, Somaliland had some legitimacy over that territory, and the international community, treated Las Anod and that territory as part of, that de facto Somaliland state. However, things have changed post Goja Ade, and that legitimacy of de facto within a de facto has ended, and the international community now deals with those authorities that are in Las Anod, the council, and the assembly, and even the government of Somalia is now have got no choice but to accept that and to work with that authority. So it's a boost, and a boost for SSC-Khaatumo, and it is a loss for Somaliland. Now the government has invited the leader of the SSC-Khaatumo, and that is kind of like a recognition. As you know, the UN has been calling for Somaliland forces to be withdrawn from Goja Ade and moved back to Og. But that has automatically come, and with the territorial control, the legitimacy has moved or shifted to the administration in Las Anod, where that legitimacy Somaliland has lost. So there are a lot of things going on, and now the Somali federal government can take a bold move to deal directly with the authority in Las Anod.
In which way? To recognize them as one of the federal member states, or perhaps maybe like Banaadir is?
Well, this is going to be like, in the meantime, it's just an administration.
And there's also the Puntland, aspect of things as well, right? Because Puntland claims Las Anod to be part of Puntland.
Yeah, I gather, and I think it is now going to be more of an autonomous administration to begin with, but that can actually develop into a fully recognized member state, regardless of what Puntland sees or views, or regardless of what Somaliland sees and views. So it is going to be a contentious thing, but that is the way things are going to move. And again, this is going to energize the unionist view.
I can't thank you enough for your thoughts on this week's headlines, and I immensely appreciate you taking the time in talking to us and discussing these issues, and perhaps further explaining to our audience what's at stake. Mohamed Dable from UK, always a pleasure to have you. Have a great night.
Thank you.